All right, and we are live, so we've got a few folks in with us. So welcome. My name's Dara Silver, and I'm volunteering as your session moderator today. Thanks for joining the Zoom meeting for the Artist Bloc, Greensboro, North Carolina, Black Lives Matter murals. We invite you to turn on your camera if you're comfortable and able to join us with video during the Q&A session later after the presentation. To minimize background noise, we ask that everyone stay on mute when not talking. If you would like to ask a question, please use the raise hand feature inside the participants tab. You're also invited to submit your questions via chat in the Zoom screen, and we'll address those throughout the session. If you're having any tech or connectivity issues with the event software, we suggest utilizing the Chrome browser. It may also be helpful to follow the direct Zoom meeting invite, which is in the session description. Now, I'm very pleased to turn it over the session to Darlene Mcclinton.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darlene Mcclinton. I do have my business partner with me, Trisha Schuler. She'll introduce herself in just a few minutes. We are the co-owners and founders of the Artist Bloc Arts venue where creative minds meet in Greensboro, North Carolina. And we're just going to give you a little bit of background of who we are and what we do and what the Artist Bloc has done for the community. And then we're going to roll right into the Black Lives Matter murals that we were a part of and instrumental in the city of Greensboro. So again, Darlene J. Mcclinton, I'm the CEO and brainchild of the Artist Bloc. I'm a visionary. And my third business partner is Sunny Gravely. She's our silent partner, but she also is the executive director of the Tab Art Center nonprofit. And I'll let Trisha introduce herself.
Yes, so I'm Trisha Schuler. I am the COO and the CFO of the Artist Bloc. So I'm in charge of the operations, hiring, firing, bookkeeping, finances, all of those things.
And one of the interesting things about us is that we're all practicing artists, educators, and creative community leaders. Fun fact is, while Trisha and I, we met an undergrad at North Carolina A&T State University, and I met Sunny Gravely, who's our silent partner, and over our nonprofit, she was actually my teacher at A&T. So that's kind of how we became the creative trinity, is the way I would like to call us. The vision and mission of the Artist Bloc, we was established in 2014. Again, it's 3 brown women running this business. We did not have formal education in business. We're all artists. So the journey was, it was a great journey for us, but we had a lot of challenges. Our mission as an arts venue is to serve the community. The mission of Tab Arts venue is to serve the arts community through aspiring artists, cultivating creativity, celebrating diversity while fostering a hub where creative minds can network, create, and be empowered. One of the awesome things about the Artist Bloc is in the community, we have like a Love Jones vibe. It's family oriented. It's a lot of educated artists that come there, but we diversify all types of art. So it's just not visual artists, it's dancers, it's comedy, it's musicians, it's vocalists. The vision of the Artist Bloc is to provide a premier arts entertainment. What we do, Tab is a hub for all artists. It creates a safe place for artists of color and platforms. We create platforms for artists to make money from what they love. So a lot of artists for the first time have learned how to create events. We pay artists to perform there. So we kind of are instrumental in the community as far as creating that economic flow, creative economic flow for artists. Our community engagement, I consider us the new version of the Black arts movement. If you have a little bit of background information, during that time, it was an arts movement that emerged out of the Harlem Renaissance movement. And then we also help with economic opportunities. We only hire artists. It's hard for artists once they graduate to find jobs. So our mission is to feed the arts community. So we only hire artists. We provide economic opportunities by paying artists to perform, any skills that they have, shooting videos, social media, that's kind of one of the things that we do. We've helped artists launch their careers. So a lot of artists in the community that come and hang out at the Artist Bloc, perform at the Artist Bloc, eventually they leave us because they're moving to a bigger city or they're starting their own thing. But I've heard at least 90% of artists said that their art career was launched through the Artist Bloc. And another opportunity we provide is we do an award show called the Bloc Awards, where we celebrate arts excellence and we celebrate all the great things that's happening in the triad. Eventually we'll expand, but right now we just focus on the triad area, and it's a great award show. And we not only just celebrate traditional arts, but we are celebrating non-traditional artists as well, as in the culinary arts, the cosmetic industry, body painting, just different arts, nail technicians, barbers, just different areas in the arts that people kind of don't really get appreciated, but we couldn't be who we were without them servicing us with their skill set. Watricia, would you like to add anything before we go to Black Lives Matter?
No, you're doing a fantastic job. Keep going, buddy.
So Black Lives Murals in Greensboro. I wrote a couple of definitions. Artists have turned boarded up businesses into powerful Black Lives Matter art. Graffiti artists, muralists, other artists use boards as blank canvases. TAB's involvement is artivism for social change. Through our nonprofit, we've created platforms for police reform, for just open up doors of conversations of social injustice and access and to the arts community and to funding. But as you see this picture that I have here, I'm gonna move on. What happened was, you know, we had the protests in Greensboro and there was a lot of looting, and they were really saying that it was a lot of Black people, you know, looting, destroying downtown Greensboro businesses. But when they looked at the video camera, we realized that that wasn't the case. So I was walking downtown Greensboro and I saw all these boarded up buildings. And immediately as an artist, whenever we see a blank canvas, we want to paint it. So I got on the phone, I called a few of my artist friends. I said, hey, you know, let's move, let's paint love, let's paint unity, let's paint what's actually documenting what's actually happening in this time during COVID and what's happening with brown and Black people in America. So here is a picture of Xavier Carrington. He's a college professor. And you also see right here, these are the CFO and workers at the International Civil Rights Museum. So everybody was in the streets of Greensboro. It was amazing. It was full of artists. It was full of people just walking around, just seeing what was happening and documenting and observing the culture and the movement, because we were a part of history in that moment. So just wanted to share that with you. Then this is one I think is a very powerful piece. This artist's name is Jay Squid. She was one of the first people we hired at the Artist Bloc, and her career has launched very well. But I love this one. The guy that gave her the opportunity to paint that was right across from downtown Greensboro Incorporated, where the offices are that basically supports the downtown area. But I love the message that she has in that, the bullet hole, you know, the target that she has. So just showing you some of what was happening in Greensboro. This piece is called Inspire for Change, a Collaborative Future. I was actually a part of this project, and it was about 9 other artists, and we all met at Elsewhere Museum downtown Greensboro. And on Monday we had a meeting. By Thursday this mural was done. It was a very collaborative project. We sat on the streets together, pulled out a computer, designed the whole entire thing. Because I had worked with a lot of artists, I kind of knew their strengths. So I was the lead artist on this particular project. And one of the artists was a sculptor. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool to do a relief effect? So if you notice, if you look at the flowers, that's a relief effect. And over here on her head is a relief effect. And then it was a random young lady on the street. She was like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool? We was in the design process. Wouldn't it be cool to do a, have an interactive piece? So we have that butterfly, and it says on, you can't see it, but it's a stool that you stand on. And if you support the BLM movement stand right here. So that's what that means. And we decided to use butterflies as a symbol for change and transformation, because I think because COVID was happening and racism has always been in America, Black people have always been dying from the day that we know Native Americans were here first, were slaughtered. I think because people had more time to think and everybody was in a place of pivoting and resetting, this time when it happened, I think it really resonated in a lot of people's spirits. So it's very interesting. And the story behind it is you'll see a little seed. Everything begins with a seed. It's a young girl. She's holding a white flower because she's innocent. When you're a child, I was a child, we're all children. If you wasn't raised in a household to be racist, you don't know, you don't understand what racism is. You don't understand what color is. So that's why we had this young lady. Then she grows up and she's kind of starting to see that, oh, I'm a little different. People are treating me different because of the color of my skin. And then it transitions over here to a young lady where she's more in the high school age range, and she's becoming more aware of who she is as a Black woman in America and the injustice of police brutality and the different things that's happening to Black people just because of the color of her skin. And then here she's an adult and she's kind of looking back at her childhood and all the situations that's happened in America with brown and Black people, and she's reflecting on that moment. And I just wanted to show you this picture. This was a group of artists that participated. UNCG professors were there, Thea, up and rising artists. It was a really good experience just being able to be in that moment and be able to educate people on that type of large scale platform. And I individually showed you different pictures of the mural just to give you a close up. This young lady right here is Dabney Sanders. She's over the downtown Greenwood Public Art, and she sent me this picture. You can see up here at the top, we hadn't even finished putting in the letters. But I did want to say that this mural had, not only were Black people and Black families standing in front of it, but we did have a lot of white people coming out, standing in front of it, supporting, saying how beautiful the mural is. And then also this particular picture I wanted to show you just because it was families. I would just randomly be walking by or riding my car by, and I would see a bunch of families making sure that they came downtown Greensboro and wanted to take a picture and represent. And I will say that the Black Lives Matter murals also really activated downtown Greensboro in a different way, because everything prior to the movement was shut down. So people were actually starting to come out their house, and it was like a gallery, like a museum that took up the whole entire street. So it really had a good feeling to it. And here's another piece that myself and some other artists worked on. And basically it's a flag, and I put on there, "We see you," meaning that we, the community, we, the nation, we see what you're doing to our community. I used the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, and I combine both of them together because it means protection. And I have the flag basically crying with tears, because even though we were out there painting, this is a painful time. And even with my business partner, Tricia, it gets to a point where she would just get off social media because we didn't want to continue to watch and see Black people being killed just for being, you know, a color. This is another piece. This one is being preserved at the Greensboro Museum that I did. This is my first street art piece, and I loved it. It took me about 4 hours. I designed it, and it has a great symbolism in it. So I used the Pan-African flag colors. I used the Basquiat crown, and the fists are also dripping. And if you notice, some of the stars are falling out. And this piece is called Homage to our Ancestors, because we have lost a lot of people that were out on the front line representing us as a culture. And I just wanted to let them know that we haven't forgotten, and that this is the pain, because we are in America, but what we experience and how we live here it's a painful thing. It's very hurtful to brown and Black people in the community. So I want to express that. So that's why the drip marks are there. Then some people just came and wrote on it, but we loved it because it was all a part of the movement and the experience. One of my good friends, Nadine Perdermo, she painted this one. I love her. She's a designer, and she painted Land of the Free, and terms and the conditions apply. And this is on the side of, right beside downtown by the courthouse. So everybody driving to the courthouse could see this piece. So I felt like it had a very powerful statement. And then I just wanted to show this young lady did this piece right here, but I just wanted to show how she was out there, part of the community as an artist, and she even had her daughter out there with her. And then these are just a couple of other images of just what was happening downtown Greensboro. Graffiti artist changed. This young man, he is a self-taught artist, never went to school, but he was inspired to come out there and paint. Pour champagne, not blood. And not last but not least, but getting closer to the end, Greensboro started a street art mural program in response to the Black Lives Matter movement. And my business partner, Sunny Gravely, and her best friend were commissioned to paint the street. So right near A&T area, it says, "Say it loud." It's a call and response type mural. And I love it because it's "Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud." "Say it loud, I'm Latin and I'm proud." "Say it loud, you know, gay and I'm proud." It just can call and response to all cultures. So that's one of the things I loved about it. So that was the whole team right here. That is what I fist up once the project was done. This is a few pictures. This is what it actually looks like on the street, and it is still there right now. And this was a picture of a fist that she put in the middle. And then this is the other part of it, the loud part of the street. And these are people just working again. Nadine, children, white people, Black people, brown people, all cultures were coming out and being supportive. It wasn't no division during that time and the moment. Now, it may have been division once the mural was put down, because this mural has been vandalized. Now, somebody put paint in a bag and drove on top of it, and it's a white mark going through it, but the city's in preparation to have the artists come back out there to restore it. This was a piece that I helped on with Philip Marsh, who's a public artist in the city, and he painted this right in front of the Cultural Arts Center on Davie Street, and it was "One Love." And the interesting thing about this was I thought it was executed well. Gave him the idea to put the heart in the middle and the one in one, you know, for symbolism. But this mural received the most backlash out of all the murals that was done during this movement. And the reason why is because the community, mainly the Black community, felt like that it was tone deaf. They felt like because it said "One Love," which I don't know if I agree with it or not, but the community felt that way. They felt like it should have been something more just, how would Trish help me? What do you think?
I think just given the time and everything that was going on, you know, because majority of the murals were started as a result of the death of George Floyd. I don't think Breonna Taylor had happened by this time, but I think people would just want something that was more blatantly in support of Black Lives Matter and in support of, you know, justice reform and changing the world. And I felt like they were saying that with "One Love," it was very general and it didn't have that hard impact that, for instance, "Say It Loud" would have, or, you know, a lot of people were painting "Defund the Police" or painting "Black Lives Matter" on the streets. So I feel like that's what it was.
And it ends our presentation. I did build in time to question the answers, and you can direct your questions to me, Trish, or anyone, Dara, anybody that's up on the conference. But I'm willing to listen and answer questions.
Yeah, if anyone in the audience wants to write in a chat, or feel free if you want to come off of, turn your camera on so you can ask them in person. I had a question. You know, we in Winston-Salem, we're not too far, we're 25, 30 minutes apart. We had never done a Black Lives Matter mural. We had never done a street mural before, so there wasn't any policy in terms of public art. What kind of policies, you know, was there any challenge to doing that? And what does your public art scene logistics look like?
Right. There were challenges. First, it came out of the creative Greensboro office. I do sit on that committee, and we worked very fast and we responded very fast to what was happening. But just like it was a lot of artists submitting, they had to pay for it for themselves. The city did not put any money into it. So all of the supplies, the location came from the artists. And then number two, it was a lot of Black artists and people of color wanting to put things on the street, but based off what they told me in the office, we had a lot of white supremacists wanting to do it. So it made us, because of the way we moved so fast and we didn't have that much structure and guidelines saying, oh, let's review everything. The way it was set up is anybody could have applied and painted the street, but they were afraid that we were going to get sued as a city because of somebody might want to put you know, something that was offensive to Black and brown people. So they got a lot of hateful calls. A lot of hateful calls started coming in. When they were doing Black Lives Matter downtown Greensboro, the business owners was lighting the city up during that movement, during that time.
Yeah, I mean, we're so close, but we also have very different communities.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have the rioting, we didn't have the destruction to businesses in our downtown area, but we did have a lot of protests. Was there, and I don't recall, I'm not sure, was there artists who were not of color that responded in terms of murals? And how did that, like, what were the effects of that and kind of the community reaction, the artists of color reaction?
Right. Most of the artists that were not of, you know, wasn't in the brown, Black community, they just wanted to be a part and be a part of what we were doing. They didn't necessarily want to take away from the movement. But I will say this, at first, artists, when everybody wanted to go out and paint boards, when you walk downtown Greensboro, it was only white artists, but that slowly switched immediately within the 3 days, and that changed because we had advocates that was out here saying this is, even though this is a painful moment for the Black and brown community, this is our moment, and nobody could tell our story the way we could tell our story, and you're not experiencing what we are experiencing. So it opened up dialogue in Greensboro like never before. I remember walking into Arts Greensboro office and got pulled out of my office. Everybody got pulled out of the office. We went into the conference room and the president was basically like, you know, I just want to talk about what's been happening. And I'm going to be honest with you right now. I am white. I am privileged, you know, and I'm learning. And I may do things that wasn't right, but I'm willing to learn. So now we are reading a book as the company. So you want to talk about race, and we take time, an hour every so often to talk about and digest this. So I've been seeing a lot of changes with funding. They're making sure it's more access, it's more inclusive. I think we have a long way to go, but I do think we finally are starting to get the ears of the people. But my charge to the Black and brown community is we can't stop. We have to continue to protest. We cannot let them think that we're comfortable. We have to continue to make this type of art. We have to continue to make our stance and continue to have those dialogues. What would you say, Patricia Schuler?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And it made me think about that I was asked to be a part of the One City, One Film initiative. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but the city of Greensboro essentially asked everybody in the city to watch the film The Hate You Give. And then they had a citywide dialogue. So I asked to be a facilitator in one of the breakout rooms. And a lot of white people were coming on and they were saying that we don't understand because we've never had to experience it. And this time is making us really take a look at ourselves and see how can we help the movement move forward. And I was just encouraging them and saying, like, everybody has a place in the movement. You know, it may not be in the forefront. It may not be as a protester. It may just be as an artist. It may just be as a venue owner. You know, it may just be somebody who's donating money or whatever the case may be, but everybody has a role in the movement. So recognize what the movement is about. Be truthful and honest in terms of your participation with the movement and not trying to manipulate it or control the story, but allow people who are experiencing it to really share their narrative and share your story from your perspective. But don't try to tell the story of a Black person because you don't understand that story, but tell it from a person who is seeing it and seeing the injustices of it, and then explain it to people who are like you, which is something else I also told them. It's going to take, I was giving them an example of when the protests were getting very heavy, it would be white people who were locked arms in front of the Black people so that the police wouldn't shoot them. That was a very important component of the movement. So understand your place in the movement and help from that perspective. Yeah.
That's great. I don't see any questions coming up, but is there anything that you kind of reflecting on all of the work that you've done? And you're still doing work, is that you're still pumping murals out?
Yep, I'm still pumping them out.
Where does your support come from in terms of financial and resources?
Most of my support, I am supported through the community. And with the Artist Bloc, even though it's a for-profit business, we built it with the community in mind because we're all educators and teachers, and we're love creatures. So once the community understood why we were here, what we were doing, we were here to help artists. We were here to also create platforms for people of color. They began to get behind us. So it's nothing that is not, I can go to pretty much 90% of the community and ask them for anything, and they will do it because, we've been in business for 6 years and we've proven every year who we are. We're sincere. We're here for you. We've helped so many artists out, do so many different things. So I think a lot of my support comes from that. As far as funding, I just work very hard. I apply for mural projects that have a budget. So 99% of my projects have a budget, and that's what I do. And then I just continue to work as an artist.
Yeah, it sounds like you filled a void in your community and the community that responded.
Yes.
And the other part, being that this is Artists Thrive and trying for individual artists to raise their own value, but also to work with communities to help them see the value that artists have about just being at the table. It's interesting, not surprising at all for you all to become a for-profit business. There's a lot to be said there in terms of, ownership and being able to be call your own shots. If you're a nonprofit, you've got a board, and we also know, we're living in the art world is no different than any other world. There's systematic things that work here that weren't made for communities of color to operate. So it's commendable. I've known about the Artist Bloc, and I've gotten to know Darlene because we work professionally together.
Yes.
This is really amazing, and I loved seeing a lot of the projects that were coming from our neighbor city.
Yes. I plan to expand to Winston soon. Hint, hint, darn.
Come on out here.
Do some public art out there. But one of the things I would say that we really do as Dara as well, including her in this with the we really, really do care about our community, and we really make a lot of sacrifices behind the scene to make sure that the artists in the community are being taken care of, being educated, being able to make money. We just created a virtual workshop where we did a visual artist development and broke down 4-day workshop and broke everything down, you know, giving out scholarships, what is it called? Internships. People, Trish has been teaching film for a long time, at least 9 years at every major college that you can think of. So she has a lot of students that come up under her. She's a professional filmmaker, so that's her art. But that's what I love about the Artist Bloc is that it is family. And once you've been there 2 or 3 times, people greet you with love and support you. Nobody's booing you off the stage. We have musicians that come. We've had famous people come there. Rico Barrino has performed there. Duchess off of Black Ink has been there. Fanatic has been there. So it's a lot of Vanessa Ferguson. So it's a lot of emerging artists. It's an emerging artist platform. But then we do have the experienced artists that have come in trying to recruit or look for the rising, I call them rising artists, rising stars, and they rise every year. And I'm always looking forward to being there for them. And I like mentoring people in the community a little bit more than mentoring people in the academic field, because you got 4 years with them and they leave. But the people that's in the community, more than likely they're locals. So it gives you more time to be hands-on, to develop them and watch them grow and blossom as the artists that they were called to be.
That's wonderful. Do you all work with teenagers?
A little bit, and I'm not on the nonprofit sector side. We do, because we have a summer arts camp called All Arts Camp, and we also work with the elderly community. We teach art therapy to Alzheimer's patients. So all of our arts education programming is ran through our nonprofit.
That's wonderful. Yeah, arts education, and it's so important, you know, to get them young, and so they can see themselves. It's so important for our children to see that they too can become an artist if they can see that, you know, if they can see that. Well, last call for any questions from the audience or the chat box. Did you, Trisha, did you want to share anything?
Last words, Patricia.
Yeah.
No, I think that Darlene did a fantastic job, and we're just going to keep doing what we do at the Artist Bloc, showing people that artists are important to the community, showing people that artists can make money in the community, and showing how powerful art is as a voice and a representation of how we're feeling. You know, art is like a time capsule of that moment. So it's so powerful. It'll last for years, for generations, for decades. So just continue to educate people on that and the importance of art.
Wonderful. Darlene, do you have any last parting words? You're good.
Just if anybody needs me, you know how to find us. We're here, and just keep up the good work and keep up what you're doing.
Yeah, and hopefully with hopefully we'll be able to gather in person. So Artists Thrive is going to be in Winston-Salem Triad area, and we have been talking about engaging with our Greensboro community. So hopefully we can still, you know, see some of these artworks when people come back to gather with us in the next 3 years.